Errol Flynn's story? The swashbuckling heartthrob, right? Well, prepare yourself, because this Hollywood tale gets wild. Think unusual personality, secret peephole in his bathroom, and that's just the beginning. His personal life, dark and disturbing. Get ready for oddity and scandal. What pushes a man with fame and allure to spy on women? It's time to talk about Errol Flynn, the famous romantic swashbuckler character, and a very familiar name among the Golden Age Hollywood audience. His debonair screen facade is very strong as an iconic screen hero, but not strong enough for us to forget his early wild escapades, dirty secrets, and incredible habits before and during his entertainment fame that some say may have been influenced by wrong friendship, maternal background, and related circumstances. Errol Flynn is among the celebrated iconic Hollywood stars that are exceptional in character and screen performance. He presented a refined outlook on screen, but his personal life had some dark and disturbing guise. I hear that after fruitful days depicting memorable heroes on screen, Flynn uses the nights for dishonest exploits, which of course is the reason his name scandalously appears in gossip tabloids often, even though just a few are usually known to the press. Following Flynn's tragic demise, several stories emerged about this great talent regarding what some have described as dirty little secrets, in a surprising fact of a life filled with oddity, illegality, and terrible controversy. From eating a raw onion, doing taxidermied bat, and frog-jumping competitions to practising professional tightrope walking, his never-say-die attitude is as entertaining as his screen shows. Flynn is your quintessential miniature kangaroo keeper, a voodoo doll owner, and one who usually asks his audience what they think about his bizarre habits. Australian-American Errol Flynn accomplished international stardom during his time in Hollywood, with his typecast romantic swashbuckler parts and regular collaborations with Olivia de Havilland, plus a reputation for womanizing and hedonistic off-screen life. Very few Hollywood actors of the era could equal Errol Flynn's dashing movie talent, shining through the late 1930s and up to the 1950s. Before his Hollywood adventure, sources said he had to travel from his hometown in Tasmania to England, a journey that was more of a wild adventure, where he often scammed people or steal just to get what he desires. I heard he lived a life with an ethical principle of, why work when you can take what you want? It is an interesting life to live for this swashbuckling screen hero. This, of course, is what fans thought was a fascinating side to Errol Flynn's life of swords, shame, seduction, booze, sailboats, and audacity. Expectedly, after tasting fame and glamour as an actor, he put a stop to unlawful activities, although critics say his morals were less deserving, talking about the standards of the era he reigned. I will agree with those who said Flynn's life is a typical example of how parents and friends can influence someone's character. His early years were despicable. Though he had appreciable career success, his later life was not as pleasurable as anyone would have expected for such a great talent. Regrettably, this handsome gentleman died at a relatively young age, with many linking his death to his reckless friendship with heavy consumption of alcohol. Flynn's on-screen persona captured the imagination of most young men of his generation. His portrayal of heroes is somewhat special in that he played the kind of characters who changed the course of things by doing the right thing through courageous displays of fearless and self-sacrificing attitude. Flynn's avid portrayal of Robin Hood won him the admiration of most ladies and endeared him to most men, who applauded his brevity in protecting the women and assisting the needy, a kind of a model male figure he was. Whether he was depicting the brave sheriff of Dodge City or the compassionate pirate Captain Blood, almost all roles he played won him even more respect, and some fans say they find it difficult to separate his screen character from his real personality, not with what he did in the Alamo, displaying heroism in the ring as a principled world champion prize fighter, Jim Corbett. That reminds me of his tightrope walking talent, and how he did frog-jumping competitions during leisure hours. Are you one of those who, after watching Errol Flynn's movie, go out into the street hoping to find a lady being maltreated by a bully to rescue? That's the kind of heroism his character made his audience feel in almost each of his movies. Those legendary virile screen characters he displayed were also imbued with decency that will impress anyone, making himself a virtue of honour and a metaphor for most ideal male traits, strength and compassion. Errol Leslie Thompson Flynn, the man you know as Errol Flynn, was born in 1909 somewhere in Tasmania to Professor Theodore Flynn, a lecturer at the University of Tasmania, and his mother Lily Young, Morell. His mother's seafaring background is believed to have inspired little Flynn's interest in sea journeys. Little Flynn was rebellious as early as possible. A spiteful cycle took over his childhood and teenage life. He had trouble obeying school rules despite his father's good name, as he was often expelled each time, either for absenteeism, fighting, or other forms of dishonest behaviour. After being kicked out of a few schools in London, Flynn returned to Australia, where he was expected to change his character. His stay at a local school followed the same pattern, as he was expelled for theft, though he later told fans that the reason he was booted out was that they discovered he was dating a much older maid, who's a staff of the school. Flynn was first seen as a performer when he was 9, serving as a page boy to Enid Lyons in a Queen Carnival, described then as a handsome, fearless and somewhat arrogant boy. I heard how Flynn was once engaged to Naomi Campbell Dibbs, a daughter of a noble family, but he cheated on her, and that engagement came to nothing, a period he also abandoned his academics to satisfy his adventurous spirit. Flynn was fired from his first job at a mining firm after he was accused of theft. It became obvious that he had no patience for earning money through legitimate means. Being a man that loved sea adventures, Flynn became one of the marauders in his quest to get rich quick, navigating to Papua New Guinea, hoping to hit a jackpot by mining gold. His ambition soon became a horrifying calamity when his team was attacked by a local ethnic group in an ambush. With arrows flying right, left and centre, Flynn's crew of employed locals ran for their life. He was lucky to have gunned down one of his attackers and caught up with his men. The incident left him in fear of a reprisal attack from the tribesmen all through the night. He escaped unhurt, but was on trial by the local authority for murder, where he represented himself and was again lucky to escape legal hurdles with a plea of self-defence. Being a habitual womanizer, this incident is unique in his life because it had nothing to do with women. Flynn's early interest in acting saw him relocating to Britain, where he began working and learning things he needed to know, but his crook nature would soon manifest. A few months after arriving, the company he worked with sacked him because he had a squabble with a female stage manager and was said to have pushed her down a set of stairs. Being a man with great destiny, that issue was nothing, because Flynn soon played in Warner Brothers' London studio film that quickly won him an offer to come over to Hollywood. That was it. Highly distracted Flynn did a few forgettable roles, but the studio was willing to make him a star. The Tasmanian-born king of the swashbucklers was born, described as the boy who couldn't say no to women. After early screen fame as Captain Blood in 1935 with his shiny cutlass and pencil moustache, Flynn conquered the hearts of moviegoers. To put his kind of fame into perspective, a writer wrote, "There wasn't a woman who didn't want to bed him, or man who didn't want to be him." He became a gentleman's scoundrel of the highest order. Flynn was dashingly reckless on screen and off camera for a peak 5-year period that saw him in a string of heroic outfit dramas. As Flynn astonished his audience as a master of boldness with his stunts, studio head Jack Warner would refer to him as the duelling Fred Astaire. Flynn's clowning around off-screen was even more popular than his brief stardom as the biggest box-office attraction at Warner Brothers at the climax of his career. While studios covered up their stars' weaknesses, Flynn was busy showcasing his reputation as an aggressive womanizer. I heard that he became one of the celebrated smart groups in promiscuity, and even earned for himself the slogan, "In like Flynn." It was so open that one actor would say, "When I sin, I'm in like Flynn." Unfortunately for him, the negative swag soon dragged his career into the mud, even as he was brought to trial for sex-related offences. Little wonder, after his demise in 1959, Flynn became a huge object of dishonest rumours. There was even gossip about bisexuality and other seemingly false accusations that he did a bit of spying for the Germans during World War II. Interestingly, his name kept appearing on several pages of unauthorised memoirs that get even more shocking with some of the revelations that are stories that were never told. It is no surprise that Flynn was christened the Tasmanian Devil, a man who portrays himself as a specialist in international pleasure palaces. He was true to his epic maxim, "I like my whisky old and my women young." For the same reasons, his first marriage to actress Lily Demeter had disreputably ended after an altercation in a Paris lesbian nightclub identified as Le Monocle, where his wife coolly observed a gang of women in white ties ridiculously dog-tired Flynn before turning him over to the gendarme for a night in the cell. Flynn's lifestyle shows he was not a gentleman, not with the saline stories about him. Some said he became a kiss-and-tell actor. He referred to actress Anne Sheridan as a star's perk who made good, with a claim that he advanced her career. No girl crossed his way without Errol investing his talent in them. His regular habits appear the opposite of what the public thought of him. This is also what he means in his My Wicked, Wicked Ways memoir, when he says, "You wonder who's the real you, and who's the chap on screen," and added that he catches himself acting out his life like a script. Flynn's major sin is that he drank and fornicated heavily, and would describe his legendary roles as miserable, perhaps for his manipulator-director Michael Curtis, who he said in each film he tried to make all scenes realistic. My skin didn't seem to matter to him. It seems the one thing that Flynn would see and instantly lighten up is vodka, engaging in verbal battles with unfriendly gossip writers and captivating the hearts of adoring fans. I heard that his lucky charm was a taxidermied bat. Errol Flynn was among those said to have injected vodka into whole oranges to cover their habit. Not when he labelled alcohol as one of the slowest though most certain forms of self-destruction, and that he expects 12 more years to succumb to its effects. Before then he would live his life to the fullest as he bought an island off Jamaica and cruised his yacht as he wishes with friends. After Flynn left humanity, arguments had ensued as to whether he victimised women or himself a victim of women, with critics in agreement that he was the victim rather than the conqueror of women. Reason being that they deceived him, married him, and made him prey. Flynn had also announced that women won't let me stay single and I won't let myself stay married. I'm not sure if the world truly thinks of him as the male version of Mae West, the blonde man-trap who became famous from innuendos about her libido, as he alleged. Is that why he developed an unusual habit of eating raw onion? Does raw onion juice add something to one's sexual drive? This is not my call to make. Analysts would rather think of him as the male Monroe, irresistible to women and unable to reject affection offered. Did it also affect his finances? He told fans that he could not reconcile his gross habits with his net income. Some have linked Flynn's character to his mother's influence as a strict disciplinarian, who often criticised little Errol with undesirable comments and would punish him severely, calling him a wicked and evil little boy, a remark that seems to have shaped his self-image and character. Critics say the same influence may have led to his fighting ideology, which socially proved he was a stronger person after winning a fight. This was also traced to how he was trained by his mother. Concerning his mother's seafaring background, he must likely have learned things the hard way, which contributed to his adventurous and dishonest way of living and became part of his life ethics. Leaving home at 17 for the seafaring trip, young Flynn, out of the need for survival, had to mingle with several dishonest friends, men who did not think it was wise to live an honest life, and applying his type of doctrine of necessity, he had to steal money to get enough to live and continue his voyages. Errol Flynn is one of those special talents that can do tightrope walking in 2-ton shoes. As his career waned, Flynn was said to have drunk a quarter of vodka daily, while residing on his yacht with his third wife, a period he reflected on his life and penned down in his memoir how he still could not understand why people enjoy working, buttressing his work less, earn more attitude. His devotion to eating green onions, as seen after he took the habit on screen in one of his movies, made fans become curious as to whether he was on an onion diet during the shooting or just an obsessive appetite. Flynn's special choice of pets includes a miniature kangaroo, though he also had a dog trained particularly to protect him in terms of danger. I also heard that he owned a special voodoo doll resembling himself in his pocket. While in a legal battle, the authority had mandated Flynn to give his Mulholland home to his ex-wife Lily Demeter, but that is not all, because the house was built with many dark secrets to suit its former owner, maybe. Very few knew about the peepholes and two-way mirrors in it designed to allow Flynn to spy on his female guests at will. There were also microphones to eavesdrop on private conversations at every corner of the house. What a perfect house for a legendary womanizer! After publishing My Wicked, Wicked Ways in 1959, Flynn died at age 50, perhaps due to intoxication. But before you go, let me tantalise your curiosity with a little sneak peek of our next video. Why was Walter Pidgeon permitted to see Greer Garson bathing?